Cool. Hey, beautiful family. Today we are joined with Tami, my amazing partner, and also Ashara. And we wanted to connect up this morning because we're going to talk about this divine feminine embodiment. This has been a really core topic amongst all our different modalities of work. And we each work in kind of like our own beautiful part of the tree, so to speak, like our tree of life. But yeah, it was a really cool opportunity to connect up to make sure that we are all aware and sharing and supporting each other as to the different ways which we can access this ability to reconnect. Like with, because even within the masculine body, we still have divine feminine energy as well. So I'm learning and growing about this process, and I've really loved and enjoyed in a massive level to support all of my clients through this process of helping them reconnect and work through lineage belief programs and womb birth stories and all this kind of imprinting that we receive. So welcome aboard, both of you.
Thank you. Welcome, Ashara Rose.
Thank you.
So I will take it from there. So something that I'm really noticing within my sessions with my clients are the heart walls. So I definitely feel the contraction within my heart and understand what my clients are going through, and I understand on a level of having experienced this myself, and throughout my own journey, learning how to soften the hardened woman that I had become through trauma and through the experiences of my life, and how beautiful it is to soften into that and to actually step out of that masculine energy of always being go and being quite closed off to that feminine side of ourselves. And even just like being friends with you as well, like it's allowed me to be inspired by you and your feminine energy, and the more I've dropped into that feminine, the more open I am, and the more open you become to the expansiveness of life, right? The abundance of life, and the feeling in the body, and the connection within yourself and your relationships and your friendships and your family, and it ripples out into your life. So and I really, really notice that, and I do a lot of energy release work around emotion code and the inner child healing. So even healing that mother-daughter wound, which it's really coming up on the collective for healing as well. Like I'm really noticing within my clients and what they're experiencing, and how we can allow a deeper level of healing, but we have to let down those walls. And so this flows in beautifully, because I quite often say to my clients, have you gone to women's circles? Have you experienced Cacao? Have you learned how to feel into your body on a much deeper level? And I quite often send them your way for that female embodiment. So and you do too, don't you? So
because at the end of the day, we do some pretty deep work on the soul level side, but we're also here in this masculine and feminine physical body, and this is part of our experience on earth, is just to really be the embodiment, and always I guess feeling those triggers, those limitations, and what we've come through within our lineage, and then learning to overcome and transcend those limiting beliefs about ourself, about our inner connection, and even as you said, collectively, the unconditioning and the releasing of so much of society's projections, the way that marketing and media has portrayed all of these roles. So so Ashara, would you like to introduce yourself? We'll talk about your beautiful course and that sort of thing soon, but what's got you started on this journey?
Yeah, I love that question, because I think back to when I sort of started on this journey, and at a time where I didn't even know, I was dropping into my soul, and I was being guided by my soul and following my passions, and I didn't know what that looked like. I just kept, I would say yes. I'd say yes to that, even though it was scary. And when I look back now, even I'm like, whoa, okay, I did know a bit more than I realized. So just also that kind of brings to light that we are always in the right place at the right time. So, you know, like I was in London, I was living a party life. It was, you know, those years of my life where I had two options given to me with a work, you know, for work. And one was very corporate. It was like double the income, which is what you would normally go through it for in the masculine way, right? You go for the income, you go for like what you think you're going to survive on. Whereas I'm living in London, I need the money to travel, but I followed my passion and I decided to go for this job that was aligned with that natural health. And I didn't even know then, like I knew that I was into natural health, but not in that way. And I just followed that, dropped all the other things about, you know, how I was going to afford to live in London and just went with my soul. So I look back at that now and still so proud of myself and see how, you know, I began that journey by just following my heart. And then from that space, you know, it just sort of unfolded and I kept, you know, I would hit walls, of course. And like those walls were like the powerful time where I would put my hand up there. Like I've always feel I've put my hand up there for the expansion, like show me the way, what's next, like how can I expand, and then go through it, you know. And so I guess then when I became even more connected to my body was when I did my yoga teacher training. And so, you know, really like learning more about the breath and movement. I remember when my sister was teaching personal training and we had to do a squat, and I didn't know my body then. I actually like didn't even know how to go into a squat, and she was laughing at me going, are you serious? And that was before, you know, my journey to London and things. So like just what can change and how that opened up so much more. And again, I decided to go full time with my yoga because my soul was not happy where I was in the business, in the work that I was in. I was going to work crying, and yeah, so it's really like being and listening and starting to journal from that space. And then also, you know, the big part of it is accepting the challenges that I've been through and the journey that I've had, and it hasn't been easy. So many of us have, you know, we've all got these stories and a past, which of course you do that powerful work, you know, that is so powerful in clearing a lot of that, and so we can move forward no matter who we are, you know. And there's been so many times in my life where I just didn't know if I could move, you know, if I would get there.
Totally.
And I was in a deep dark hole, being through depression, and I am grateful for all of that. And that's really, you know, one of the aspects of the feminine, embodying our feminine, is to really embody all that we are and what has brought us here and got us to where we are today. And when we start to really honor ourselves for our whole journey and everything, like forgive ourselves, you know, the forgiveness was a really big piece in opening my heart more too. So yeah, it's and then essential oils that really helped me to every day. It was, you know, with the yoga practice, I decided that I was going to practice daily, and I've committed to that for the last 5 or so years. And I can tell you, I pretty much haven't missed a day apart from when I had my son. And that's just my commitment to myself. You know I feel good when I've had that practice, when I've taken that time to myself. But that can be as simple as tuning into my heart and saying, what am I feeling today? And grabbing an oil, or what food am I feeling? Oh, I need some water. I need some rest today. Yeah.
The communication is so powerful, hey? Like, because once you start listening and you build trust in that inner voice more than what that ego mind and the external world, like, because there's so much pollution out there in terms of bombardment of sounds, imagery, ideals, and things that are really
you should do this, you should do that,
portrayed
should do
to
this,
us,
you should
right?
do that, and coming into your own beautiful heart space and actually going, no, this is what my intuition says I should do, or this is what my soul is calling me forward, and then listening and taking the action. And I feel like, you know, you are such a beautiful teacher because of the embodiment, because we can know all the things, but if there's no integration and no embodiment, then it's just knowledge, right?
Absolutely. And that is the societal way that there's been so much of overdoing, of like overlearning, and like, I'll get this certificate because I've got all this information, but actually the embodiment is the most important piece. And yeah, the embodiment, you know, is everything.
Yeah.
And of course, when you go through that integration period, like you can have, you know, like I guess John and I hold that space for the energetic release of, you know, the deep wounding or the trauma or whatever's sitting there for people. But then the integration part is so key and so important for actually changing the story. Like yeah, we were talking previously about, you know, quite often we hang on to these stories of what we've been through, and it's not a dishonoring of what we've been through, but it's actually moving through so that we're no longer triggered, we no longer identify with that story as us. So you know, once you've kind of fully integrated and embodied, then you everything shifts and changes, right?
And really stepping into your own healer, you know, wisdom, because
Yeah.
everyone is your own, you know, carrying that on yourself and learning the ways that you can be your own powerful healer.
Totally. And being really curious about that journey too, right? Because it can, like, we've got this, again, it's a societal thing where even people, if they were to say, I'm going to see someone for healing, like, it's like, oh, that's a negative thing, you're broken. Or, you know, we can hold these ideals that we are broken, but we, as best that we can, we try to like flip it and say, no, we're already whole and complete inside. And there's just layers of conditioning and belief systems and programs that we can work through and work to release, and really just having that self-awareness, because self-awareness is the key. And even like you mentioned before, I don't think any of us on this call have not experienced multiple bouts of depression or anxiety. And it's like kind of like most of the times we experience that is actually when we are clinging to that old rock of the identity.
Yeah.
And life is flowing past and we're holding on to it and holding on to it.
It's the
But,
resistance, eh?
you know, we must I feel like we always want to climb to that next branch. We always want to expand on a soul level. That's what we're here for. And there's that innate calling within us, even if we don't answer it initially. But we will eventually get there, and the pathway does open up synchronistically for us, piece by piece. But once you start, like, you know, that's the most powerful thing, right? Like with our body's communications, that is the most powerful tool we can ever have. And once we start listening to that and start asking different questions, like instead of being disempowered by the pain or the discomfort that I'm feeling, and we start asking those really open flip questions to ourselves and our higher self or the universe around, like, what is this relationship showing me, or this trigger showing me, or this body pain, or why is my period cycle really heavy and out of balance each month? You know, why this super heavy, you know, whatever it is, bleeding or blocks to the throat expression. You know, it's such a powerful communicator that if we can listen and have some really good embodiment practices, then that makes our journey much smoother and more fun as well.
Yeah.
Would you agree in your life? Has your life become more smooth and harmonious through the embodiment and the practice of, just like you said, even the tune in or a cacao, like every first or second day, you know, just honoring yourself in some way, right?
Yes, 100%. And, you know, I really notice, and that's what inspires me more, is I notice the difference in myself, because I have become so connected to my feelings, which is not always, always amazing. It's like, oh, you know, what would it be like to not feel? I don't really know what that's like, you know, like I can feel, and I'm very much an emotional person, so I cry a lot. And I think I've always sort of been that way. Like, I mean, if you ask my family, you know, I've always have cried, and I know that that's not always easy for some people, but I love a good cry. Like I embrace it. It's not as I want to be crying at the time, but I know, oh no, this is good. This is part of my healing, and we're getting, you know, moving through some layers. But it's the difference that I feel. So I always look to like the future version of myself after I've had that yoga practice, or after I've done, you know, that cacao, had my cacao, and what that feels like. And yeah, really noticing, you know, as I have added and my practice has evolved, and my tools and all these things that I've embodied. And of course, that like tracking your cycle, you know, that has been one of the most powerful ways. And I see it as, of course, you know, this is the way that we are ascending, right? To track, to follow the moon cycles, because we are nature, we flow like nature, we are water, we are all of the elements. And we've been taken away from that balance by following this calendar that is man-made. and not following, I'm really passionate about the Mayan calendar. I don't know a huge lot about it, but it makes a lot of sense. It feels very true to me that no
Totally.
wonder we're following now our cycle from the moon. And I have always felt connected to the moon and noticed my moods and my emotions around that time. And people around me, having to be more conscious of that. So yeah, I mean, and it is a journey, like it's always evolving. Like I'm always becoming more connected and learning more, and every week is, like there's something else to learn. So it is that open curiosity. Yeah.
Totally. I was just going to add to that, like tracking your cycle, but also honoring your cycle, because I guess that's what sometimes we as women do, is not actually honor, the winter period of our cycle when our body's asking to go slow and to hibernate and, be really gentle and kind of, rest. And instead there's still that even women that do track their cycle sometimes still kind of have the push on through mentality. So a lot of that is really important as well.
Yeah, the honoring and the permission, and that's what that sort of does. It's like, actually, no, I have permission to rest, but we need to give that to ourselves every day anyway. There should be
totally
some form of rest every single day. So I ask, if you are watching this, like, how can you give yourself that nourishment and rest and honoring today? And not just make it like, oh, just in my winter I rest. It's like include rest, because that is really the time that we connect. That is the time that we create magic, is in the presence and the slowing down. And it's no longer about, we must do this and have to get all these things and these tasks done in the action list, to achieve.
Yeah.
The achievement is when you come into peace with the now.
And self. Yeah, and I guess that's a good segue into the masculine and feminine energies, because that's the feminine embodiment is, what you're teaching people and how you're helping people to drop into that feminine energy. So, this looks like women that are kind of in that masculine 90% of their, or probably 100% actually sometimes. I know for me, I was like, definitely in my masculine, and it's been a process to learn how to drop into that feminine, but there's a commitment to self, and I feel like that's the important, committing to actually learning about the feminine and what that means, and the flow and the trust, and how beautiful it is to be in that space.
It's funny too, because on a collective level, right? Like when we're talking about our connection and remembrance to Mother Earth and the Mayan calendars, and even past civilizations, like that disconnection that's happened, and hence why like all of this individual re-embodiment is happening, because we are forced to take a look at our connection with the ultimate mother womb, which is like Mother Earth as well, and our connection to her, whether masculine or feminine, like, because even on that level we've been taught to be so much in our mind and intellect, and not really in our heart and our connection and grounding to Mother Earth. And so remember, once you start to practice and remember, because it is a process of remembering, once you remember that connection and you remember those times that we have like akashically been in past experiences, and we remember where we could draw our energy and gifts from and our innate knowledge from, then it makes the whole pathway kind of a bit smoother, instead of thinking you always got to be intellectual. Because even for like divine feminine energy, there was the massive like 5,000 years plus of kings and rulers and masculine patriarchal control. And for the most part, I think it's been 4 years solid of just healing and rebalancing and promoting the opposite. Like healing as quickly as possible all of their old story belief systems and subconscious ideas. But we also need to see where the women have come into like sovereignty and wanted to be the CEOs and the mothers and the money earners. So it's like the pendulum has swung both ways.
That's where the masculine energy is
coming,
right? Yeah.
So now it's like we're being asked, like, even though we're talking about divine feminine energy predominantly today, we're all being asked to reunify both of these, because it's gone one way and now it's gone the other way. And there's heaps of like female circles now, eh? It's like almost like completely like 100% that and hardly any guy stuff. So now it's like, but it's got to come into balance at some stage where we honor and cherish both sides and the gifts that both sides brings.
Totally.
So it's interesting seeing these cycles.
I feel with that, the reason there's a lot of women's circles now is like we are opening up that invite and healing for the masculine to then come in, you know, because we've got to kind of be first a little bit and leading with our feminine and be okay and in that space of allowing, and then we, you know, that opens up space for the masculine, which is happening more.
Because it's the healed feminine that has the ability to be vulnerable with the masculine and then allow him to drop into the vulnerable, or you know, even just those heart walls, man, because there's so many people that are in relationships or are wanting to call in relationships, and they just have, you know, all of these shields up, and it's kind of like, you know, trying to explain and allow these people to soften and drop those walls down, because we can't actually call that in if we've got this big energetic, like, don't come near me. So that connection with self is, and also like how can we expect to have any kind of relationship with someone else unless we're fully connected with ourselves?
It's always a mirror, right?
Yeah.
And so even like through all these circles and that sort of thing, as that support happens on that feminine side of the energy field as well, it does heal those wounds, so that then even the female energy can show up and not so triggered and not so defensive. And because at the end of the day, like, everyone wants like some beautifully connected, conscious, open relationship, but then we must cultivate that inside first in order to manifest and attract that into our experience anyway. So it's in our highest and greatest good for all of us to like really support both sides of this spectrum, and knowing that when we do and hold that space, there's a massive healing that can happen collectively within all of us as well.
So the feelings that, because you are a very feeling person, so the feelings that women might be currently embodying if they haven't stepped into this work, what are those feelings that women are feeling? Like the disconnection?
Yeah, well, I find even from myself, like, you know, like I have felt these and I still do, because we work through the layers. It's more about how do we choose to look at them in a different light. So like the doubt, the fear, the like lack of confidence, feeling stuck and confused and disconnected, like not knowing how to receive the divine messages from source and from our heart and actually listen to our body, like, and trust that, you know, some lack of trust in ourselves, and feeling like busy, you know, like a lot going on, overwhelmed, like overworked, fatigued, you know, like just feeling like run down, you know, like needing
in the mind,
nourishment in the whole body. And like the confusion, as in like not knowing the way forward, like what do I do, what do I need to do to, you know, and what I like to invite is like the simplicity of what the things that we can start to and not so much do, just start to be more of that remembering. And, you know, and how easy it can be to shift our energy and frequency into more of the divine flow, the divine feminine. So many things. And like, you know, like even just like trusting ourselves in our voice and our truth and our wisdom and gifts that we have, because everyone is here with like their own individual soul gifts and wisdom and soul path, you know, that is here to help this humanity in the world shift into, you know, this new earth, this beautiful new earth. Feeling lack in all areas, abundance, in relationships, and in the heart space, like in the body, and maybe look like even the not having a beautiful relationship with the body, like when you look in the mirror and being able to actually confidently say, I love you, like you're beautiful, you're powerful, you know. Also, like we do a lot of mirror activations. So that's
and with that, so with, you know, having stepped into the integration and the embodiment of the feminine work, so then what are the opposite feelings that come about once you start stepping in and honoring self?
Yeah, so my key feelings, because there's a lot, but it's like peace, like I really believe that we don't have to be anything. We're not here to do anything but be peaceful now, and that is true success. So you'll feel peaceful because you've like slowed down and allowed yourself and given yourself permission and feeling more love. The next word, love, of course, and love embodies everything, and that is the vibration that you can be. And that's one of my intentions daily, is to be love. Just be love, and using the cacao and things with that, which we'll talk about. Freedom from your mind, freedom from all of these things that have been holding you back, and the stories, the patterns, the past, all of that. And just freedom in your heart to be who you are, like to step into your true soul purpose and your soul gifts and your soul magic. And feeling more calm, peaceful, light. We want to feel light. We want to increase the light in our body, and we do that by feeling the density, right? Because without the dark, we have no light. Like, it's still embodying the polarities, embodying it all. And like John said, it's about bringing the masculine and feminine into balance. So balance is another key word, like bringing your whole, and when you bring that into balance, it's like this harmonizing of the left and the right, and all of those things that come with that. And more balance in your life creates more space. So you're going to feel more space, and it's a little bit like it's the unlearning of what we've been taught of, like that go, and I don't have enough time for this. And if you've got stories like that, then you're actually going to have more time, and when you honor yourself, like that honoring of yourself, where you actually feel like these things become a part of you. So it just is, it becomes easier. It's easier to flow and flow. I'll end it with flow, because flow is how again, I'm all about flow. I don't have any rules. I don't have any set times. I flow with life, and, don't try and plan too much with me, because I'm like a last minute, I'll feel into the moment and then decide. Making decisions from your heart center, that feel good and feel exciting and bringing joy.
Beautiful. And life feels quite blissful, doesn't it? Like, I guess I kind of, once I got through, because I actually found it really challenging to be in that just being. I had to release a lot of guilt, a lot of shame that was wound up in that. Well, who am I if I'm not doing something? Because that's how I've always felt, I'm worthy of, if I'm doing something, then I'm worthy. And so I had to really break down those layers of, like the guilt and but I should be doing something because, this is lazy, or this is, like breaking all of those paradigms down, and then getting to that blissful state of, wow, honoring yourself. How good is that? How beautiful does that feel?
So true.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because the embodiment's like the beautiful kind of like, it's almost like once you get past that real harsh tipping point. But it's just like, probably more so like within our work, like the, like especially like the soul level work and the womb birth stories, and what we've been shown in terms of our parental imprinting. Like, what is mum and dad's relationship like? How did they connect and show each other like love? Were they sensual? Were they behind closed doors kind of sexual people? Was mum in her voice and sovereignty and follow her passion, or was dad always the one going out and doing his things while mum was a stay at home, a bit not really in her sovereignty, and
like rigid and not, like how beautiful is it for, like, even for your son to see you in that flow state? Like, mum must feel connected to her body, and to dance and have fun and be playful and then be creative, and like all of that is wound up in the sacral area. And like you do a lot of work with the sacral as well, and clearing like just lifetimes of trauma in the sacral and in the womb space. And it's really powerful to release those blockages and then feel that beautiful flow. And then, I mean, that's our life force energy, right? Like that's our power, both both the masculine and the feminine. So once that's flowing, we're good to go.
Creativity. And so speaking into like the sensual sexual energy is we need to unlock these keys to that, to feeling more first, to releasing and feeling more, and then we can start to really embody the sensual sexual energy that's there, that we are, and bringing through that creativity. So again, it's like that connecting in a conscious way daily in some way with your womb center, with that powerful life force energy. And ceremonial cacao was something we were going to speak into as well.
Go for it now.
That is our ultimate tool in heart healing and expansion, and has been for all of us here, I believe, and totally supportive in this heart space, because it's medicine, plant medicine, that has come at this time when we're moving from our head to our heart. We're moving into the feminine, and it is a feminine plant. So it's such a beautiful tool to embody. However, I embody it daily. It's just like, for me, a time to come into a daily connection and relationship with myself. I see it as my self-love connection. And from that space, I can, create and flow and, set intentions for the day. So it's that presence that you create even in just a few moments. And that has that flow on effect throughout the rest of your day. And it has so much more benefits as well, of course, like giving you the focus and the creativity, bringing you into who you actually are. So we're not in the head of these stories that are not who we are and what we've like maybe been told and all of these things. It just like gives you this complete kind of softening, and that's where I highly recommend, ceremonial cacao as part of this journey as we embody more of our feminine and come into the new earth of love. It's like bringing the vibration of love. It can give you that feeling of being in love. And I've found that deeply supportive, especially on a single path, on a single journey of, which I'm grateful for, because I give myself even more love, and when I feel like that missing part, when I feel lonely, well, that's an invite to how can I love myself even more? What can I do for myself today? So cacao has been a beautiful tool as well for my sensual pleasure practice that has, helped me to expand even more. And I see that as our path to start to open up even more. And as the womb is like our second heart, it's really beautiful and powerful to bring these connections into both, and use ceremonial cacao as it is also for the womb.
Yeah, it's powerful. We too drink it on the daily.
Yeah, it's funny, hey, like, because it's interesting listening to the stories and listening to how everyone feels things differently, because I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit weird, but or maybe it was where I found cacao on my journey, because I felt like I'd gone
Your
through
heart was already well
so much shit like, for a couple of decades.
You probably could have used it a few.
Yeah. So it would have been interesting if I tried it, say, in my early 20s when I was going through the real deep depressive stuff. Whereas now I notice that kind of any habit or ritual, like I'm really free flowing, like I almost don't really have any daily practices as such, because I just find that my energy is just on a vibration that is naturally just kind of almost sustains itself. Like if I get in the sun, I get around the ocean, like I love cacao. But it would have been interesting to have the opportunity to try back then when I was really going through the trenches to see what I felt differently, because I know what the heart walls feel like when they hit that kind of ceiling, that box that it's like, I can't open it any further. There's too much protection here. There's too many layers here for all of these reasons. So I think I might have just experienced it in different ways, but it is a massive, a beautiful gift, and it's a good coffee alternative as well, which is amazing.
What I have really enjoyed with cacao is, while I love the coffee alternative, but I do like the ritual in it, and I quite like to listen to the frequency of love too while I'm drinking it, and allow myself to even journal and have my heart or my higher self kind of drop in. in that space. But having experienced it within circle, like that ceremony within circle is a whole other level, I have found, because that's really helped me heal the, you know, the sisterhood wound or the feminine wound, because that's a really real thing, you know, like, and I've been through layers of that myself. And I know that probably every woman, if they were really true to themselves, they too have experienced that or are yet to experience the layers that are there for them in that aspect. So those circles are really beautiful for them to, heal that on a massive level, because there's a lot of betrayal and a lot of shame and judgment and competition and comparison, and, you know, like allowing all of that to drop away, and then we're with our heart and with that love space again. And then there's this beautiful opening of friendships and collaborations and, you know, all of the beautiful things. So yeah, I'm sure you probably notice that within your circles that you hold.
Yes, and it's just like that is what we are coming together for, right? You know, so we can be seen and heard and supported and feel that love no matter what we say, there's nothing that can be held back in that space. And I have seen so many circles over the years, because it's been about 5 years of holding these circles and bringing women together, and it's always different, but there's always love, and we are healing that, you know, that feeling of being left out or being judged, you know, a lot of judgment, criticism, like and it's so powerful and beautiful to see the transition, to see that, you know, this healing, and how deep that goes when we just come into a circle, whether that be online or in person, and that's where I see the next level of healing as well. So like coming into a group space is for your healing journey, to actually start to like show up a little bit in your vulnerable space, you know, to speak your truth, to share and express from your heart. And using ceremonial cacao for that has been, you know, is really supportive, because it does help us to like drop down a little and just be okay.
Drop some of those walls, right?
Some of those walls and express that. I see it when we open up the circle before the cacao goes around, and I can feel slightly closed, slightly just not sharing, you know, the full expression. And then the difference once the cacao has been drunk and embodied and activated in the system, and it's just flowing, you know, the expression is there, and it's like, I'm okay. And women feel that as soon as they arrive in the space. It's like just this instant, like, you know, I've had women say to me that they were about to turn around on the drive, you know,
Totally.
so glad that they came. And, you know, it always is okay once you get here, but we all go through it, and we continue to have these fears because of our past and things. But once we're actually there, once we take that step, once we do it, you know, we see like, oh wow, that was amazing, and that was so, you know, what I needed. So more women, calling them all in to come together and support each other.
Actually, that's a really good point before we shift forward. This one point. So many times the mind will stop us. I've been talking about this a lot on Instagram recently. It'll basically stop us from our journey. Like our soul's trying to lead us forward, but the mind and the lack or the doubt, I'm not worthy of the money investment in myself, whatever it might be, it'll basically stop us from our fastest, quickest pathway forward. And so many times we have these fears that stop us from showing up, even fears of what my partner think. If I go and connect with myself and my body, does that mean my partner will feel inferior? Or all of these things, like even around self-pleasure or, you know, and even as a guy, it's like interesting when I met you, right? It's just like, oh, whoa, okay, where does this lead me? Like, like, am I important in this? Like, you know, and it's funny because so often we will get stopped in our mind, but if we just say yes, like you said before, if you say yes and something is put in front of you, and if it feels like the heart's kind of calling you forward, like really just go for it and be curious and give it a go, right? Because for anyone that has kind of gone through their pathway for a few years, there's going to be things that we bring up that are going to trigger people depending on where they are at on their journey. And it's so important to acknowledge that trigger, but then to not let that trigger stop us either. Like to feel it, to sit with it and be like, but do you know what? My heart is calling me forward.
Yeah.
Or I feel like the circle's important, or these sessions are important. That person's come into my mind like 6 times in the last 2 weeks. It's like, okay, guys, get the download. Like, follow the path, and you'll be rewarded.
Well, those triggers are an invitation, right, to expand. Why am I being triggered? What's sitting here that's ready to be released? And I mean, I love that about triggers. They are actually a blessing, aren't they? Because they're the catalyst for change and expansion. And quite often, you know, like women are triggered by other women being in their power and being in their embodiment. So, you know, I would say to anyone watching this, like, if you are triggered by anything that we've talked about, or you know, if it feels like a little bit kind of, your heart might feel a little bit contracted and you might feel a bit kind of nervous in that, lean into that. What is that for you, you know? Is that your soul going, yes, you're ready. You're ready to step in and actually expand. Yeah.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of women, I've got a lot of women that, you know, like, especially when I hold the sacred feminine circle, which is a little more, you know, sensual, and that's a lot of what I do have women say, I'm not ready for that. And I have to ask, like, really, are you not ready? Or is it really scare you? You know, does it feel a little scary?
Yeah.
And, you know, we do have to go with that, you know, in a safe way through that scary feeling is the liberation, is the freedom often, you know, but we do, it's that step of, is this actually feeling a little bit exciting? That's scary too. Then go with the excitement. Go with that initial feeling.
Yeah, that's it. That the initial, the first intuitive thought is normally the go button.
Yeah, because
then
then the mind will go in and just fuck you over.
yeah. So that's why, you know, sometimes, like, or often those first intuitive thoughts are your soul speaking, and it's only like later with that ping pong that the mental mind gets a hold of it and starts to mess it up really good. So so take aligned action steps, guys, is what we're saying. If you feel a nudge intuitively, or if you feel drawn to someone, but then you put it off because of different reasons or different beliefs, or I can't afford it, or that's too much in time investment, it's like, well, aren't we worth it? Like, this is all investment in self. It's like, even when you pay for someone's services, it's not something leaving you, it's something that you're putting back into your soul, and you're gaining so much learning and growth about your own body and your spirit and your essence.
And committing to self, right? Like, there's so often, and actually that's, you know, that's a part of the, for me anyway, was like, I was abandoning myself, you know, like earlier on in my path, like I was abandoning myself, I was betraying myself, I was not committing to myself. And when I started fully committing to myself and my journey, everything just opened up, and it does flow. And yes, it can be difficult at times and challenging, and we have to really look at ourselves and take self-responsibility for our path. But man, the power on the other side of that is just so totally worth it.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, so let's talk about the embodied feminine. So this is what we wanted to talk about, and kind of, so tell us what the options are, or what a woman would expect if she was to jump on your embodied feminine pathway.
Yeah, so the Embodied Feminine is a group container, and it's all online, and it's actually begun today, but there is an opportunity to still join us, and the first live call is going to be in the next week. So I'm all about flow, so just know that the flow is important to me. It's the feeling that you're going to get. So I've created this as a safe and sacred container for women to come into, and it's a space where you can come and you can shift your frequency instantly into this divine feminine energy. So I will be channeling intuitive guidance into the space where you can go in and listen like a podcast. And it's the teachings of like how we can come into that more grounded, flowing, connected, aligned woman, that version, that goddess, and that you are, like all of this is within you. So guiding you through this, it's a 3-month journey plus. It's probably going to continue, but it's 3 months commitment to start with, because I see that as being like the most powerful transformational opportunity. So you are going to transform because it's going to be like this releasing and cleansing of your soul, of your heart, and coming more into who you are, more aligned. And so I'll be sharing things like the podcast audios with live calls. There's a couple of options I'll speak into in a moment. And card readings, intuitive guidance as it comes through, and breath work, embodiment practices, meditation, anything else that I feel called to, like the dance and things like that are really powerful for embodying our feminine. Journal activation, so really powerful ways to actually go deep into your soul and your heart and receive and unlock what is truly deeply there. So these have been really powerful on my journey of like getting deeper into what it is that I truly desire. What am I truly worthy of? Self-love practices, like everything that embodies the feminine. So there is 2 options to join us. So it begins at $222 per month, and one of them is like you're in the group container, and it includes 1 group call per month in coaching and 1 light language activation. So light language is another tool that I channel, and I'm a channel for light language, which is an ascension tool. So to help you ascend, help you to remember your soul gifts, unlock DNA. It's really powerful, and you can look more into that on my website. There's a blog, and there is a free meditation as well if you want to get a feel for that and if that's new for you. So that was the first option, one call per month and 1 light language activation. They'll be recorded, so it's like you can embody it in your own time. And the second option is a couple more calls and a couple of other light language activations and some bonus content. So there is some bonuses as well. If you message me, I've got a special bonus for anyone that's watched this video. Just message me and tell me that you've watched this, and I will help you out with that. And you can get started straight away. So you can join the group, and it's off Facebook because I see it as a space that you can come into where you create the intention for yourself. I'm going in here to receive. So the feminine is about receiving. So it's an invite to receive the magic that I'm sharing with you and unlock your own magic and feel, more of that love, more of the freedom, more of the flow.
Beautiful. That's a really important one that we didn't actually talk about, was being open to receive, because understanding when those heart walls are up, we're actually blocking ourselves from receiving not just love, but everything in life, like the jobs, the opportunities, the abundance. It's all related. It's all energy, and it's all frequency. And so being open to receive is definitely it was big learning on my path as well.
And not feeling that guilt for it, having your boundaries, and then receiving, like just saying knowing that you're worthy of receiving. That's it. We've got these desires, and we've got them because they are available for us. Like creating that worthiness so that then they are available. They're there. They open up. So those are 2 group options. If you're feeling more called to a one-to-one support in a sacred space, then I have options for that. Cacao embodiment or coaching. So if that is calling you, we can have a little chat about, what might be the most aligned path, and also helping you to step more into your soul gifts and purpose. Like using the light language is a really powerful way as well to start to cleanse your cellular DNA, open up these. So I like to use that as well, because to create more simplicity of this awakening and ascension, like to continue our path, and how powerful it is, because what it does is it goes beyond the logical mind. We're getting out of the mind, and it's again a receiving and a trusting, and knowing that your soul is receiving what it needs in the moment.
Yeah. So even that is releasing the expectations, right? Because the mental conscious mind, the ego, loves to know and plan and have all the pathways sorted. But as we know in our soul's journey, it kind of like takes a scenic route where it's like, oh, you wanted a bit of mountains and a bit of dense forest and you want to get bogged down a little bit. But we learn so much through those challenges as well. And that's why I think everyone does want to know, like even people want to say, yeah, I want to know what my purpose is. Or I want to, being you is your purpose, right?
Yeah,
like
maybe
really,
you're already there.
like everyone's like, excuse me, they're looking for this kind of idea that once I achieve this, then I'll be enough. But in truth, it's like this is the full, I guess, the overarching concept of embodiment, right? We must be embodied in our present moment. There is only now. And tomorrow it'll just be you and your now then, like or what we perceive as then.
Yeah.
And so it's really powerful as we shift into these new earth gifts like light language and the energy healing and the regression work. And
Trust is the biggest, like being a healer, you have to have trust because there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of non-physical, there's a lot of, not understanding light language as a language, but feeling it on an energetic level. And that's why feeling is so important because, like we are feeling beings. And it is really full of information and you do feel that on a soul level.
super cool.
Well, it sounds amazing. And so I would encourage anyone. I have multiple clients that I have sent your way for, and also your circles as well, because they're a great way to kind of allow these women to step into that safe, supportive, loving space where it's all women and they can heal those the mother wound or the sisterhood wound that is really, it is coming up on a collective to heal.
So how do people get in touch with you, Ashara? Like we can do some links like in terms of in the comments, but just up for the video as well. What's the best ways to reach out, like on Insta, social media, or even your website domain?
Yeah. Insta ashara.rose.love and Facebook Ashara Rose.
Cool.
And my website is asharalove.com.
Cool.
Nice.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Any other little gems you want to put in here that
I would just invite you to feel into that future version, that woman that is already embodying her feminine and what that feels like, and get excited about that because that's what we're creating. And if you're feeling called to come into the space, I'd be honored, and really you'll be welcome and feel so supported. But feel free to message me because I love connection, and we can always have a chat and see what's most aligned.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
And just quickly, for your followers, we can talk a little bit about what we do. So I am a Reiki intuitive healer and I specialize in inner child healing, which is really powerful for releasing those heart walls and the shields around the heart, emotion code release, and the energy release around those traumas and things that are holding us back from stepping into these spaces even. So, I would encourage people to come for a Reiki healing and then step into that embodiment work, and they'll be on their way. And would you like to talk about your space?
So I totally jam with the multi-dimensional realms. Like my soul loves and feels like empathically, like that's my gift that I'm bringing to this new earth. And just those sensitivities and this whole journey that we're talking about, like from a guide perspective, I've been on this journey with my own feminine energy and my masculine energy as well. And it's just so nice to be able to share those gifts, but also to have, I guess, that way deeper understanding related to our lineage, like really the womb birth stories, what's happened in either previous or like different lifetimes and experiences. The sessions get a little bit more galactic sometimes, and that's really cool. But so we open your Akashic records, which is your soul's records, because all wisdom is already within your light body and your Merkaba. But you often, when we're trying to access things by ourselves, the ego mind always gets in the way. Like it'll only be able to take us so far, and it's like, no, that's a kind of a bit of a no-go zone. So I guess my gift is, because I can feel intuitively in real time, and I definitely love law of attraction and what's manifesting based on our energy field. It's really fast to break down really blocks in any areas, like whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, energy imbalances, masculine, feminine imbalances in the lineage line. So yeah, I love lineage healing. Like it's like really become really passionate, but also this whole topic has been really pretty intertwined with my work, even holding a lot of that kind of rose energy, the crystalline rose energy and the divine feminine energy, and working with you, and a lot of, I've just noticed it's just always been part of my soul.
Yeah. And the sacral and the womb space as well, like because of that, you know, women wanting to reconnect with themselves and just understanding the sacral chakra alone, you know, like if that's blocked, then we're blocking that flow. So yeah, we both work on that space as well.
Yeah, a lot of reconnection of the womb, sacral, and the heart, and especially, and then the heart, like the expression, the heart armor that so many of our, like us, have or are working through, whether it's male or female. Again, a lot of guys have challenges with boundaries and wanting to express their emotions, but there's so much heart walls and heart armor. So yeah, that's
and the blocks to receiving, like I'm finding that a really huge space that we're tapping into. So yeah,
we kind of all bleed into into each other's work, but it's all part of the same beautiful process as a holistic whole. And that's why this combo has been so meaningful, because we're all like here loving and supporting each other, and we know that each one will hold different pockets and different gifts for anyone on their journey, and they'll uncover different layers as they go. So you can reach out to either of us as well, like at Introspect Healing NZ and introspecthealing.com.
And my Insta is Tami_Introspect Healing NZ. And also as a little side note, for people to get a little bit excited of a collaboration, that we have actually collaborated, the three of us, last year on the beach, doing a beautiful sacred journey together, and that another one of those is coming this year. So for people to watch out on our instas and to see what that will involve, because we've all expanded our gifts in the last year as well. So I really feel like this is going to be even more powerful. Like the light language, like you were only just starting to pull that into your circles when we did that one. So now I just feel like this is just going to be like, next level.
Combo.
Okay. And just want to say how amazing you two are. Thank you so much. And highly recommend healing with John and Tami. Like it is so powerful to allow as well that receiving from, you know, to these parts of ourselves. Like the work that you do is not something we can do on ourselves as such, you know, we can continue it. That is the and that's how we see it, isn't it? That it's like, you know, you have that healing and then you can work on yourself, and you know, and then you may be called into another one. Like
it's the fast track, right? Like we've all done it the slow track and you know, the hard way. So this is why we do this, right? Is to help people fast track and get there. Just, and with the support, like a lot of us have done a lot of the work, you know, alone, and that's hard. So having that love and support from people that get you and understand you and understand what you're going through, because we too have felt it.
And seeing the potential in each, you know, really see the
potential. Seeing their light before they recognize their own light. It's beautiful.
That's why I'm, saying yes to your journey, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And the path can be slow and a grind, or it can be, if you get into the right mentorship or the right group or the right modality, it can just like ramp up your ascension path so quick and take quantum leaps. And that's what I think we're all being shown, that potential within our souls as well, that remember this potential as well, that you're not just stuck on this kind of linear timeline. You do have the potential to take really big embodiment leaps or self-love leaps or building inner trust or expression. These are all possible. But we just, if we only stay in the box that we're used to staying in and we never venture outside of that box, then of course life is going to not look very colourful or abundant, and it will feel
be boxed.
It'll feel mediocre.
A whole nother conversation there.
Totally. So choose you, and
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much, Han. This has been amazing. And I just I love what you do, and what you your embodiment is inspiring, because I'm very much one of those people that that love accountability, you know, for myself and for my clients. And yeah, so I love it. It's beautiful. It's very authentic.
Yeah, thank you for
Welcome.
watching all the way
Thank you for
through.
joining us. And yeah, we'll leave it there because that's probably been enough of everyone's beautiful, special time. But yeah, wicked chat. Connect up with Ashara if you love her work, or feel enticed, or it rung a few buttons, or you felt your yoni tingle, whatever brings your bells.
Or you felt triggered.
Yeah. Get on it, and yeah, we'll definitely catch up with more of these chats soon. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool.
I'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.